Boom! According to that, I am live. Welcome to Tokyo Tonight 2. This is Hiko Simon. Here every week, 10:30 p.m. Sundays, Japan Standard Time. Gonna put these on, don't I? Well, how's it all going, everyone? I hope you're having a good week. I've had a very busy week. I suppose it's been good. I got a lot done. A lot of stuff sort of coming up. But among the things that I've done, I finished watching The Americans on Netflix, all 5 seasons. Really love that, by the way. Seasons 1 through the boom of silence. I hope that this is showing. Yes, I saw all 5 seasons. I thought the first 4 seasons were really good. 5th season kind of petered out, got a little bit. Maybe it's just that I'd watched too much of it. But I really enjoyed The Americans, so that was good. I watched the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Discovery also, and it kind of sucked. I didn't really like it. Not that I'm much of a Trekkie to begin with, so maybe that's got something to do with it. But yeah, people are telling me to watch episode 3 and then not to watch episode 4. So I am here as I do every week to come and tell you all the cool stuff that's happening in the world, which means pretty much not talking about anything that's happening like with politics in America, or frankly, I keep you up with what's going on in Japan, all the cool stuff that I've been doing and listening to and seeing, and what's going, just regular news in Japan. So there we go. Thank you, Nihon Oniko, for confirming that I am live, as sometimes I have my doubts. And very nice to see you. Tai Nakamura, first comment tonight. Well done, sir. And yes, I gave you a feature because, again, your track, which I put in here right in the beginning, or was it the end? But that track that you made is really, really good. This one, Fat Malice. Yeah, so I put it in there again just because I reshared it again this week, and I thought, why not? The Orville. I want to watch The Orville. So how do I watch The Orville? Is that Hulu, Netflix, or Amazon? Yeah, because I've heard people say that was good. Hey, Jason is lost in Japan. Good to see you too. Good to see all you beautiful people. Who else is in here? Let's have a look. So yes, indeed, we saw Tai Nakamura first, and go and check out that track. Aphex, good to see you. And yes, indeed. Normally, the director not being Harvey Weinstein. I don't know how you say that. Weinstein or Weinstein or who knows, but normally him not being the director, of course, would be a negative. This week is definitely a positive, so I threw it straight out there on the cover thumbnail for this. Mr. Cordy Chap, well, roll. Believe me, I'm running out of ideas for witty comebacks to write under roll. So, California sushi roll. And by the way, I actually, when I go to like Australia or America, I frankly, rather than having like fish, which is like 3 days old, I'd much rather have grilled teriyaki chicken and avocado and stuff actually in my sushi. And it actually tastes pretty good, like with grilled onion and stuff on it. You wouldn't get that, of course, in Japan, but that's a good thing. I'm cool with that, actually. So each to their own. But California sushi, why not? Why not? The Sergeant Bilko, good to have you here as always. Our man in Sweden, good to have you along. Who else we got here? We got Mr. Cordy Chap, Lyson to 45, excellent. And this is indeed the part of the stream where we go boom, in a good way, normally in a good way. We have kicked off. We are indeed live. Who else by the way, if you're in here, please say hello, leave a comment. It's always nice to see you people and to be able to say hello to you. Jason lost in Japan, just said hello. Nihon Oniko, we also just said hello to. And that seems to be Tai Nakamura music, indeed. Everybody seems to be there. And one for the Orville, indeed. How do I watch the Orville? Someone told me, blasphemy. Well, I don't worship sushi as a form of religion, so I guess that's why it's okay for me to say. Someone tell me, how do I watch the Orville? Because I've read that it's good. Yeah, and I'm curious. I guess I'll go Google it and I'll find out soon enough after the show. But there we go. Also, Fear the Walking Dead, I've just discovered actually season 3 is live on Amazon, so I'm probably going to go watch that next. Well, season 2 started to get a little bit weigh me down, but I actually do prefer Fear the Walking Dead to the regular Walking Dead, partly because the dad in it is a New Zealander who's kind of who's been around in New Zealand forever, and he's just started to break in America. But there we go. Hey Natalie C, good to see you. Thanks for the smile. Smiles right back. It's very good to see you all. And we got Tetsuya 34. Excellent. What's up with you? It's been yeah, it's been a really busy week. In fact, I was actually kind of tired. It's kind of rainy. It's getting autumny here, but autumn's actually normally the best season in Japan. It is. This is the time of year that you should come. The weather is unusual at the moment. It's been really rainy. Normally, it's really dry and sunny and cool. And yeah, right from now through to January. January, the weather normally turns a bit crap, but pretty much from late October, November, December are beautiful in Japan. So if you're planning trips, right now, as I tell anybody, it's the best time of year. Of course, it's great if you can come here during the cherry blossom season, but the weather's always really all over the place during that time of year. It's beautiful, of course, but it's crowds everywhere. And actually, no, this is really, really good. So. And is that right, Tetsuya 34? The flights are way cheaper in the fall. So there's another reason. I've never understood why Americans call it fall. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep calling it autumn. That's just what I do. But yes, indeed, now is the time to be over here. It's hay fever season. Actually, and that reminds me, I get hay fever this time of year. It's kind of funny. I guess you guys can't see Mr. Cordychip saying stupid pollen because it's hidden and I have to decide if you can see it or not. But you can see in the captured comments that he said it. So I will say show, even though it's kind of, oh, whoops, I will say show over here. Held for review. There we go. You can all see Mr. Cordy Jeff's comments. So I've been catching up on TV. The app project has had a couple of steps forward. So yeah, it's been kind of stuck for a couple of months now, partly because of my work and partly because of a couple of things we needed to clear. The Sergeant Bill, I think that's it. But snow falls as well, so why not call winter fall as well? Spring, I mean, is autumn fall because leaves fall, and spring because rabbits spring? I mean, seriously, come on. Not that I really understand why spring is spring, but I'm sure there's a very good explanation for it. I'll start with some politics. I didn't actually add these in the beginning because I kind of thought they were a bit lame. But hell, we are a week away from a general election, so I thought we would the upper house election in Japan, so I thought we might as well go through it a little bit. Ko Hoshino, good evening. Steel is my kanji. I didn't realize that. Ko, like Teko. Okay, well there we go. I did not know that. Ko Hoshino-san, and welcome to the show. So maybe you can help me out with some of these topics. The elections have been kind of boring. They've been kind of boring, actually. There's been, in terms of it looks like, the quick update is that originally, the opposition was in disarray. Abe thought, well, this is a great chance. We'll call a snap election. All of a sudden, we'll do the planned election like 2 or 3 years early, and just capitalize when there's no one basically to oppose. Much to his surprise, however, the very popular governor of Tokyo, who's actually more conservative than he is, announced that she was forming a national party, and she appeared to be prepared to fight the national election against him. And in the initial polls, she was polling, like close to as popular as the LDP. Only thing is, and when that happened, everyone wanted to get on the bandwagon from the opposition. So the main opposition party, the Democrats, said, hey, we're going to fire half of our party and dissolve the party and go and merge with that very popular governor and try to get on that bandwagon. That caused a lot of upset within that party. It split up. But then right away, the Hope Party, the leader of the party, who's very popular, said that she's not actually going to run. She's just going to support the party. So there are people from her party in the national government. And then the polls kind of crashed, and then the Democrats all sort of, were all over the place. And now they're planning to get back together after this election. And it's not really clear, whatever anyone's campaigning for or anything. So yes. Mr. Cordychip, YouTube censorship. Well, there we go, but I'm there to undo it. Olivia D, it's good to see you. Welcome, as always. So yeah. So anyway, that's what's kind of happening. Again, the problem is and remains, what do they stand for? What are the policies? How are they going to save Japan? It isn't really clear, other than they just want to make some sort of a sports team that will beat Abe, but based on, what? For me, I like policy, and I study law and policy, and I like to compare choices of, how people are going to run things and have a say and how that's going to happen. And there's not really a lot of that going on with this election. Other than the increase in sales tax, which is going to go to 10%, which in some ways I like. At the moment, like I went to the 100 yen store today, everything's 108 yen. They actually allow you to add it on and not include it in the price, the display price, which means you've got all of these 1 yen coins everywhere that are actually worth less than, they're actually, the coins are worth more melted down than they are as currency. It's a redundant form of currency, 1 yen coins, but you need heaps of them when you've got an 8% tax on everything. If they make it like 10%, I'm actually okay with that. Maihara and Koike are going to do harakiri. Well, I don't know. I mean, Maihara certainly, to be elected the leader of a party and then to basically destroy it not soon after. And the thing is, I'm actually, in some ways, I supported it. I mean, the Democrats are a mess. I don't like the fact that, Khan and Noda were still running that party. And it was undermining them, kind of cleaning house, and the fact that they weren't resolved between the former friendly with North Korea Socialist Party members in the party and the former LDP people. It was just a bunch of opportunists who couldn't get along. So I was kind of glad to see them become, ideologically coherent. But there again, Maihara ran straight over to Koike. How can you be anti-Abe and join with someone like Koike, who's more right-wing than him? So yeah, it didn't really make much sense. Lysander 45, does she still have my vote? By which do I mean my wife's vote? Well, good question. My wife was actually joking. The only coherent party worth voting for, and I somewhat agree with her, the only coherent party out there right now that ever seems reasonable when they have all the parties talking, that says anything that sounds like common sense, is, as usual, the Communist Party. Who are communists. So, and I don't have anything against. I homestead with communists. Some of my best friends are communists. That's fine. I wouldn't vote for them. I mean, they want to break off the security relationship with the US. They want to do some kind of crazy shit. Other than the fact that they actually seem to be the most logical and level-headed people at times. So from that perspective, who do you support? I can't support the SDP. I can't support the remnants of the Democrats. So as much as I like Edano, he seems like a stand-up guy. I don't like the people that he's with. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just for the sake of not voting for the government and making any sort of vote, maybe it still would support Koike, just to stir things up. But I don't think it's going to make much difference. So there we go. Mak Akasaka, that's a good idea, FX. Good call. So yeah, this is kind of why I've become like, whatever about this election. I mean, probably Komeito and LDP are going to win again. Koike has kind of done a half-assed job of it, so I don't see it really going. The most logical and level-headed people want to do some of the craziest things. Well, that's kind of right. They're logical and level-headed, talking about corruption, talking about policy, talking about sort of tax reform, administrative reform. The only thing is that they want to break up the security relationship with the United States and do other stuff like that. So yeah, I admit it's kind of, well, this is why you can't. I don't consider them to be votable. I mean, they're like a religion. I mean, a bit like Komeito. It's like voting for a religious group that you disagree with the religious group, even though you think that they're very nice people. It's a lot like that. Ra's al Ghul, you are late, but Man of Steel 2. Well, we're about to talk about the Man of Steel. There have been issues with the Man of Steel. Kobe Steel, probably the world's foremost high-quality steel maker. The company really, I mean, the entire Japanese economic miracle, the cars, the washing machines, the refrigerators, the infrastructure was built on steel from Kobe Steel. This was the preeminent, all of those are anime of the future where all the roads and buildings are made out of metal and everything. You could pretty much assume that in the future they were thinking that would be Kobe Steel making all of those things. Kobe Steel is just like the cornerstone of Japan. You have to understand this is a really, really significant company. And a flagship of Japanese quality, and their shipbuilding industry, their car industry is based on, as much on the quality of the steel and the metal that they used as the technology that went into it. So yeah. And by the way, I see Mr. Kurichi talking about Nigeria, and that distracts me, so I'll keep looking forward at the screen. So yeah, what's happened with this? Well, it's the usual deal. It's a bit like the Takata airbags or the Nissan cars. Quality inspections were defective. They were supposed to be properly, checking the quality of the metal coming through it. It looks like they weren't doing that. At first they thought in the copper and aluminium lines, but when they checked it, and by the way, I'm British English, so I do say aluminium, and I'm not going to apologize for that. I've changed most of my spelling to American spelling because I'm tired of Japanese people telling me that my English spelling is wrong. I've surrendered to that. Plus I work in American companies, or I have for the last few. However, I will still say aluminium. So there you go. Their aluminium and copper lines were the first ones to get caught, and on Thursday, the president, that guy there, said, But don't worry, this is contained in those 2 Japanese divisions and nowhere else. And it turns out now they've found out it's everywhere else. And this is kind of bad news. It's bad news for the economy. Hey, I've got nothing against Nigeria, Mr. Kordychev. It's just I don't know much about it, so I'm not going to get drawn into a conversation about it. Anyway, the man of steel, if he was really made out of the very best steel, chances are that his steel was subject to an inadequate quality inspection, and it may be defective, and he may need to be recalled. Everyone loves Nigeria. I know very few Nigerian people, but the few that I know are very, very smart and competent people. There again, the Nigerians in Roppongi and in Kabukicho who work as touts, or I know are kind of lower educated, and sometimes they're affiliated with organized crime groups apparently that come over here and have taken over from the Chinese that got pushed out by immigration a few years ago. They're not very pleasant people, but there again, I haven't had much interaction with them, but I don't like the fact that they grab you and shout at you and do things like that. They seem to have cleaned that up a little bit, but the Nigerians that I have proper conversations with and worked with are all very smart and good people. It's a very big country, so I don't know, yay Nigeria, but I don't know an awful lot about it, so there we go. Thank you, Mr. Kordychev, for clarifying that. So there we go. TEPCO finds chances to cut corners than Kobe can. Well, TEPCO, and by the way, welcome, Jace Mackey, good to have you along. Well, it's one of these things, isn't it? Once it happens, they always do a thing. They do a big, hey, Carlos Diamante, buenos dias. I hope you're good there. It's one of those things that Japanese culture can in some ways be reactive. Once something goes wrong, they're really good at doing a detailed analysis, a hansei, saihatsuboshi. A hansei is a self-reflection. Saihatsuboshi is building up these detailed manuals to stop it ever happening again. And this is the reason that when you go into companies, there are heaps of seemingly pointless steps and formalities around doing work, which people complain about, but it's because someone did something like this a long time ago, and once they get caught, they do total overkill fixing it, which ultimately leads to everything being quite good. But it looks like they obviously hadn't done that maybe for too long a time here. I think that's what contributed to this. So anyway, that's been the big story this week. Again, I just added that one at the last minute. I didn't mean to talk about it very much. This is what I'd rather talk about, actually. So, talking of the future, the Big Falcon rocket, apparently it's the Big Falcon rocket, the BFR that Elon Musk has. Apparently it's smaller than the original rocket that he was planning, which would go straight from Earth to Mars, but in order to commercialize it and to get them going sooner, he's got this idea that he'll actually use them on suborbital hops around the world. Typically one orbit, at least at space shuttle speeds, 29,000 km per hour at the 100k orbit level. Takes about 90 minutes for a single orbit, i.e. if you want to fly anywhere in the world, you can do it in 45 minutes. And given that most flights around the world don't go to the exact opposite side of the world, most flights in the world would take between 15 and 30 minutes. And he's got this idea that they are sufficiently happy with the way that their rockets are taking off and landing all over the place, that they could actually build out an economy of scale. With airline quality safety, apparently Mr. Musk says on Reddit, that they could actually offer at airline prices travel from, flights that take 15 hours, you could do in 15 to 30 minutes on their rockets. Sign me up. The G's would be crazy. I still can't. It's hard to imagine that a rocket flight would be as safe as an airline flight, but he says that's the goal, the pricing and the safety. And damn, I would, hey, Kuma-san, good to have you along. BOKUNK, good to have you along. You like Pongi Nigerians. I'm sure they're products of their environments, and I'm sure they're lovely people when you get to know them. I just haven't gotten to know them, and in my state of not knowing them, I'm trying to avoid them, just because I've found them to be unpleasant at times. Mr. Kordychev, to think you're about to order a book on the Toyota Lean Management. You should order a book on the Toyota Lean Management. Toyota is a company, well, remember, you have to remember for a long time, Japanese car companies, starting with Toyota as the flagship, were considered all the world over to be, crap second-grade cars. And the reason Toyota is so good at what they do is it's from decades of overcoming that image, which they did well and truly. By the time anybody noticed, they were better at making cars than pretty much everyone else, except maybe the Germans. So yeah, you get the book. I mean, the methodology used by Toyota on lean supply management are being used by not just in the car industry. Walmart, Amazon, all those sort of companies, they all actually use they follow that religiously, so it's good to learn. But yes, and Sergeant Bilko, yes, I've seen the compilation of failed launches, but this is the whole idea. You got to have those failed launches in order to get it working right. Hell, I'm really, really optimistic. So two things here. I was always optimistic about the idea that maybe by the time I was like 60, within 20 years, that it would be affordable for someone like me to be able to go into space. And I always thought that would be like going to a space station, being in an orbital sort of a thing. But what he's suggesting as a way to get there much, much, much sooner, that I love, is the idea that they're not trying to go into orbit. You're officially in space if you're 100 kilometers up or higher, and they're just thinking about going up 100k. You probably have, a couple of minutes of weightlessness, and then you come down and land. You might not even have that actually, but you'd actually go outside of the atmosphere. You would actually see the curvature of the Earth. Hell, man, I would be so up for that. And to know that by supporting that I was supporting the acceleration of The Expanse, right? Another great Netflix series of people not wanting to have a war between Earth and Mars or anything like that, but getting people off the planet. Yeah, that would just be awesome. For the idea of that my kid is, already I can't even imagine what my 7-year-old kid is going to be, the sort of world he's going to be in, with robots and artificial intelligence and stuff everywhere. But if, we're actually, it looks like, I don't know, I'm suddenly optimistic that all of the unfulfilled science fiction dreams that we had as kids might actually suddenly become a thing. So there we go. And I'm not going to pay Richard Branson $250k to experience a few minutes of weightlessness. This is the thing. I think this is the best way to it. And I love that Branson and Bezos and a bunch of other people are following this direction. See, this is Ty is asking me, Hiko, the Earth is not flat. Parts of it are. And who knows? You can find out for yourself if you get on one of these things. So to me, this is. I think news should focus more on this stuff. Now, I know, by the way, that Elon Musk, apparently Tesla's kind of, looking a bit shaky and whatnot with their production and so on. I hope it's not all sort of vaporware, but, these things, you can watch them live. I watched these rockets fly live this week. They work. And I hope that they can get the economics right. I hope that it will be good. Here be dragons. Now, that was from The Expanse? Here be dragons. That's what they would say when they'd go off the edge of the Earth. I heard that recently, Sergeant Bilko. Where did I hear that? That was like the name of an episode of, I think it was the name of an episode of The Expanse, possibly. Or maybe it was The Americans. I don't know, but that's a good quote. So, anyway, just was on Facebook, browsing Facebook. Some people were showing a Ty Givens, I think. Was it Ty Givens? No, it was Stefan Critchlow. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, on Facebook, was showing a radio-based sort of, freestyling sort of rap competition between Black Thought and, who was the other guy? Well, point is, I don't remember who the other guy was. He was famous. I hadn't heard of Black Thought. Black Thought apparently was a vocalist on The Roots, which became big around the time that I left to come to Japan. And maybe that's how it came off my radar. So when I heard this guy, I went and he said, go and listen to The Roots. And I listened to The Roots. This track, The Roots, You Got Me, featuring Erykah Badu. This is such a good track. I've spent all week listening to The Roots, basically, because it's like if you take that hip-hop sort of jazzy sort of beats and hip-hop style that you get like from Nujabes, for example, in Japan, Jun Seba, and you combine it with some really good, like, not this kind of bullshit rap. The rap has just gone so bad, like real thoughtful, deep, lyrical rap. Damn, this is just, it's all just really good. So seriously, do yourself a favor, listen to You Got Me, and check out some other tracks by The Roots, because they are really good. The music is good, the lyrics are good, and there you go. And Sergeant Booker, you were correct about that, but that actually came up as a reference, I think, in one of these series that I binge watched recently, and I think it was The Expanse. And very, very good. That's right. When you talk about the edge of the world, here be dragons. That's what they're right. This is an interesting one. Apparently Japan, although Japanese are more, statistics show that they are more obedient than other OECD countries when it comes to obeying traffic lights, there are still far more accidents involving pedestrians. And why is this? I can tell you the answer for this. The reason for this is that Japan doesn't have footpaths in most places. When I first came to Japan, when I was in Fukuoka, walking to school, you know, the taxi drivers, you're on these really narrow roads with these crazy taxi drivers. I felt like I was going to get clipped by them a couple of times. So, you know, there's just, and a lot of kids have to walk to school on roads where there's barely enough room for the cars and people to walk and power poles at the same time. Especially when kids have to walk around the power poles, they have to walk into traffic if there's a bus or a truck. I've always thought it was dangerous. I'm pretty sure that's the reason. So there we go. Oh, yes. The Seed as well is another awesome track that I also love. Very, very good, Black Unicorn. Sergeant Bilko, thank you for that. That's right. I'm pretty sure it was The Expanse, and that was good. So that's another thing to be careful of in Japan. And yeah, it's a paradox, isn't it? You know, they follow the rules, but the roads are crap. The reason that the roads are so narrow is that they are basically, Japan isn't a new world country. They didn't plan all the roads in the neighborhoods to have footpaths, and you know, these are basically roads which were made for people walking or carrying, you know, jinriksha, carrying people, or you know, maybe horses or whatever. They weren't made for cars, and you know, they've just adapted. You can't widen the roads because people have owned the land beside those roads for hundreds of years, and they don't, you know, Japanese don't like their land getting stolen. So yeah, it's always really problematic. Major routes with big roads that do get widened, they have to pay so much compensation to the people to widen those roads that the houses on beside those roads become enormous as a result. So it's just kind of a general thing in Japan. You always have to be really careful walking around. It's just really hairy. And that's why, if you ask me. What's this? Oh, you know, this is interesting. This was at one of my favorite surfing spots in Ibaraki, Owarai. So there's this problem in Japan. Most cars in Japan, they have these keys with like an electronic, you know, like remote and everything on it, which means that generally, you know, when you got like the remote and the buttons and everything on it, you don't even want to put it in a waterproof pouch and take it into the water when you go surfing. So it's always like, what do you do? And so everybody pretty much does the same thing. Mr. Cordychip, behave. What cars are you even talking about there? I don't know, but okay, I'm gonna say okay because everyone can see it anyway. But dude, please don't keep triggering the moderation features. So these cars, because of this, well, I like everybody else, we did the same thing, which is that we we put the keys like under the car, pretty much under the tire, maybe under the, you know, what do you call it, the hub of the wheel or whatever, when you go surfing. It's a bit like putting the key to the house under the doormat, right? It's the first place who anyone wants to break into the house is going to look. But people just do that. So, yeah, and Olivia D, maybe with Hokkaido, so maybe it's just a thing that people are just used to making roads without thinking about the sidewalks. Maybe that's the case. But yeah, to me, it's one of those things that really bugs me. Oh, pardon me. Anyway, so apparently there were 6 cars parked at Owarai, which is a spot. I've got friends who actually, you know, own the beach houses up there and stuff, like friends, they all chipped in to rent one really sort of crap prefab place. We would go up there, we'd park our cars, you'll leave our cars there all day with the keys under the car, or hidden, and basically apparently six surfers with 6 cars with 6 keys under those cars. Each one of those cars was stolen in one day. And they're telling us, you know, it's kind of shocking. So all the reactions on Nichan to this news story are, you know, what do these idiots expect, putting their keys under the car? But truth is, in Japan, hundreds of thousands, millions of people surf every day doing this. It's kind of actually, it's kind of upsetting that, granted, I'd be much more careful about doing this in Australia or New Zealand. In those countries, I'd get a key that I could wear in a pouch and take it into the surf. But in Japan, you just sort of do this, which I realize it's practically the same as leaving your car unlocked, but it's a nice thing about Japan. You can go surfing with your car basically unlocked. You just know not to take too much cash or do anything like that. And sometimes cars get broken into, but you know, to actually have the car stolen, it really is kind of shocking. I know this happened at a spot. So I suppose the good news is that this is still extremely rare. The bad news is that in spite of it being rare, it happened, which I guess is maybe a sign at the times. But there we go. So yeah, it made me a little bit sad, so I put that there. If you haven't seen it, the new trailer for The Last Jedi is out, and it does look really good. I can't wait for December to come and watch it. I really do like the, I think the evaluation of the first new Star Wars movie for me was the plot felt rushed, which I understand it was rushed, and I understand it was rushed for this as well. But I really did like the new characters. I liked Kylo Ren, I liked Finn, I liked oh god, her name escapes me, but Ren. I liked Ren. I love the possibilities with the new characters and where it was going, and by the looks of this trailer and some of the quasi spoilers in it, it looks like those stories are going to get really, really good. So I just can't hide the key in a fake rock on the beach. That's probably the best way to do it. And Sergeant Bilko, thank you for at least self-censoring, but no. It's got electronic. What am I supposed to do if I want to unlock my car remote and like punch? So anyway, I am very much looking forward to the new Return of the Jedi movie. The trailer is awesome, and yes, that's there. Autumn is, as I said, it's the best time I think to come to Japan, and here are 10 recommended places, which is basically places to come and see like that, where you can see the hills all covered in red and yellow sort of spectacular trees. What do we have here? Hokkaido, Jozanke Onsen. I don't know this place, but it looks lovely. And onsen is a great place to go to this time of year because it's getting cooler. Hokkaido is awesome, so why not go for that? Koryu Onsen. Again, I've never heard of this place, but actually it looks really, really nice. And actually, if you want to go for a good trip in Japan, these sort of onsen trips are the way to go. So that looks pretty good. Miyagi Prefecture, Tohoku again, Narako Onsen again, famous for the onsen, and yeah, I guess you get a bit of a later fall up there as well, a bit of a later autumn, but looks lovely. Gunma, this is getting closer, Kanto, so it's closer to Tokyo here. Ikaho, have I been to Ikaho? I've probably been there, or near there for snowboarding anyway. Nikko is of course very famous. Tochigi, it's close to Tokyo. It's also pretty good. They've got ninja villages and lots of sort of historic stuff, and yeah, they've got again, it's also famous going there. Actually, see, I'm expecting Yamanashi to come up here because that's where people in Tokyo go. Chichibu I've never been to before, but okay, consider a day trip because it is a day trip from Tokyo. But they seem to skip Yamanashi and gone all the way down to Shizuoka, where they have these water. Wow, I've never heard of this before actually. Shiraito and Otodome Falls in Shizuoka. Wow, that looks pretty nice actually. Shizuoka's Chubu, yeah, but it's kind of was exactly halfway between Nagoya and Tokyo, and you can get down there pretty quick on an express train or a bullet train. Shizuoka Prefecture, we've got Sumatakyo Gorge, Shizuoka, so a lot of them are getting close to Tokyo. Toyama, okay, Kurobe Gorge, again, I've never been here, but Toyama, I know people have moved to Toyama for work, and they haven't come back because they love it there so much. It's a really good part of Japan. And Tokushima, this is on the island of Shikoku, Iya Valley. So some good ideas for travel trips to Japan, and you should totally come here and check those out. Truth is, I was looking at that expecting to see something familiar I'd seen, and I thought it'd be a good list to go through, but I hadn't actually looked at it before the show, so I don't really know those places so well. Now, this is an interesting one. This was a list that was posted on Rocket News, and I really disagree with it, actually. So I'm going to show some of these neighborhoods, 5 of the worst areas to live in around Tokyo. I think are some of my favorite areas, actually. And when I posted this, a lot of people disagreed. Tai Nakamura, I agree, those waterfalls look pretty good. Hey, Christian Hugo, good to have you along. Taking a gap year with some mates, wondering when you should come to Japan. Well, it depends on how long you want to be here for, but right now is the best time of year. The only times that I'd say don't come, it depends on where you want to go as well. I would say do not come to Japan really between May and August. It just sucks. Too hot. You get typhoons. It's, you know, I'd say anything outside of that May to August time period. Other than that, it's pretty cool. So that's what I would suggest. So this is a controversial list because I disagree with it. First one is Makuhari. Now, I understand why they say Makuhari is a bad place to live in, which is that it is still, well, apart from the fact that it's all built on reclaimed land and it all started to sink during the earthquake. I've got friends who live out there. I used to work out there. I actually love it. I love the new future city thing. The whole city was like reclaimed and built. It's beautiful. It's got the huge expo complex nearby. It's actually got the Costco. It's got you know, it's got kind of big shopping malls and stuff like that. I'm a big fan. A 27-year resident there says there's only 2 convenience stores in the residential zone. Well, yes, you need a car if you live there, but you get really good access to the beaches in Chiba. If you want to go surfing, it's fantastic. If you want to go to Tokyo, it's good access. It's cheap, it's modern, it looks like you're living in the future there. I'm a big fan of Makuhari. You go past it on the way from the airport, from Narita Airport to Tokyo. So I disagree with that, and I've worked there for 2 or 3 years. I used to commute out there. This one as well, this doesn't make sense to me. Shirokane Takanoa. This is like one of the real upmarket neighborhoods in Tokyo. You've got to be kind of rich to live there, as they say. It's where a number of the foreign embassies are there. Has a large population of elderly female residents, meaning that everything shuts at night. Well, and the majority of restaurants are classy and expensive. Well, this is the point. It's like Beverly Hills. So they're saying that like Beverly Hills like sucks. Well, sure it does if you can't afford to live in Beverly Hills, but if you can afford to live there, you can eat at the classy restaurants. And hell, the elderly female residents will probably pay for you to be a gigolo or something like that. I mean, I don't know what they get up to, but seriously, this is an upmarket flash neighborhood, and it's really centrally located, and I would live in Shirokane Takanoa in a heartbeat. So again, I disagree with that. The next one I do agree with. Again, I don't know why in the hell all of a sudden Kasukabe comes up. I've been to Kasukabe when I went to Oizumi in Gunma, which is a Brazilian town. I went through this town. It's like located 2 or 3 hours outside of Tokyo, and for that reason alone, just don't go there. It's a transport hub. It's got good train access, and that's the only thing going for it. But there again, it's so far away. Why would you even include this in a list talking about Tokyo? It makes no sense. And I think the person who wrote this list was on drugs. Another one I totally disagree with, Kamakura in Kanagawa Prefecture. I'll tell you a funny story. When I was in my 20s and I was going out surfing all the time and keeping my keys under my car, part of the routine that I would do with my fellow surfers, I would drive home. I was the designated driver while they would smoke weed in the back of the car. I didn't want to get in trouble in Japan like on that shit, so I was sober driving home. And when we got back to Kashiwa, which is also a shithole, which could be on this list, but I lived there for a long time and I had a good time, we would go to Kabakura. Kabakura are cheap hostess bars. Well, they can be expensive, but in Kashiwa they're cheap, and the girls are kind of ugly. But you talk to them and they pour you drinks, and it's all kind of cheap. You pay like 3,000 or 4,000 yen. They pour you like drinks, as many drinks as you like, and they talk to you. And I didn't really get the point of it, but it was kind of fun. And we would do this. This is part of our weekly routine. We'd get drunk. We'd wake up early in the morning at 4 o'clock. We'd go to the beach. We'd surf. We'd sober up in the surf, being afraid of dying in the surf. We'd come out of the surf. We'd eat ramen. My friends would smoke weed. I would drive the car back, and then we'd go to a hostess bar. Well, it wasn't very healthy. But I was talking about a weekend where I went to a barbecue in Kamakura, which is lovely. It's got this huge Buddha. It's got the beach. Every like rich gaijin who lives here for a long time, as they retire out that way. And I mentioned to the Japanese guys that on the weekend I went to Kamakura. I kind of managed to combine a classy historic neighborhood, Kamakura, with Kabakura, and I said Kamakura. And as much as I tried to recover myself, I gave away how I was spending most of my weekends at that time. So, yeah. And it was a good time, believe me. That's how I lost all my hair. Tai Nakamura was having a good time through my 20s. Pretty much, I did that for 10 years. But yes, I did go to Kamakura. I've been there for barbecues. It is a long way out, but I know people who love the lifestyle there so much that they come in. You can surf. You're near Shonan there. You can actually windsurf in Kamakura. They don't have waves in Kamakura, but they've got these beautiful beaches. So yeah, it's like barbecues, nice big houses. I don't know how that could be like on the worst list. Yes, it's kind of it's a hell commute, but the people who do it are the people who lived in Tokyo long enough that they want to do it. And all of a sudden we're in the ghetto. Now, I've gotten in trouble for talking about Adachi and Taito and saying that they're the ghetto, and I've had people trolling me on Twitter about me being mean to Taito. So I don't mean to be mean, but sure, I mean, Yanaka is ghetto neighborhood. I mean, why in the hell is Shirokane Takanoa and Kamakura, two extremely classy neighborhoods right beside Yanaka, and Kasukabe? This list just makes no sense at all. For those of you who are interested in dark Japanese history, this is the neighborhood that used to be part of one of the burakus in Tokyo, where people who lived there were discriminated just for living there. It's funny, I have no idea why Hoshino was just discriminated against there. But yeah, again, and the thing is, it's a lovely neighborhood. I would have no problem with going to Yanaka now, but sure, back in the day, it was a neighborhood where if you want to see, for example, if you have photographers who want to show like the grungy side of Tokyo, or the dark side, they want to show some elderly people, some homeless people, then yeah, they go to Yanaka. But it's a perfectly nice neighborhood with lovely people. I would take my son there for a walk. It's close to the Sky Tree, it's close to Asakusa. So I don't know. I mean, okay, maybe I would put this one on a list of Tokyo neighborhoods that I wouldn't want to live in. I would maybe agree with this, but the other one, seriously, you know, Kamakura. Not Kamakura. Never call it Kamakura. You'll get in trouble at work. This is a weird list, so I wanted to share this weird list of 5 places, the worst places to live in and around Tokyo. It doesn't make any sense. So there we go. Apparently in the Power City Index, which is created in Japan, apparently Tokyo came number 3 in the world for a second straight year. Yeah, the Urban Strategies, the Institute for Urban Strategies, which is apparently a Japan Meiji University professor, was in charge of the rankings. So perhaps it's biased, I don't know, but apparently on a bunch of criteria that they give, 6 categories based on economy, research development, cultural interaction, livability, environment, and accessibility. Tokyo came 3rd. So London finished 6th, finished 1st. London's number 1 for the 6th year in a row, and New York was 2nd, and I totally understand why London and New York would be ahead of that. Apparently Tokyo falls behind London and New York for cultural interaction. I don't know how research and development really... accessibility, I get it, the public transport board is awesome. Research and development, that sounds like they just came up with a category to make themselves rank better. My list, people are asking what's my list. If I made a list, where would you say to avoid? Well, I'll say it again. I get hate for it, but Adachi, if you see car number plates with Adachi, taxis with Adachi number plates, avoid them. Adachi is a ward in Tokyo. I actually like Taito. You know, Taito's ghetto as well, but Adachi, I'm in Adachi. I mean, I know I played rugby in Adachi. They have nice fields, nice parks. I've taken my kid to Adachi, but I wouldn't want to live there, honestly. And I wouldn't really want to live in Taito either. Toshima Ward, like from Ikebukuro, pretty much the east side of the Yamanote line. That said, I mean, I've lived in Kashiwa, which isn't a neighborhood that I would recommend. Nishikasai is also a high crime area, and I loved living there. I would actually recommend Nishikasai. I wouldn't recommend Kashiwa just because it's too much in the suburbs. But for places that in central Tokyo that I'd recommend staying away from, pretty much anywhere that Tikyo Sam has lived in. Tikyo Sam has lived in Uesudani, which is a love hotel, cheap, you know, prostitute neighborhood. I'm not saying that's why he lived there, but you know, he lived there, and that is a seriously ghetto neighborhood. It's probably the most affordable neighborhood on the. It's probably the most affordable. Dude, Black Unicorn, Bilkok, they are asking me for neighborhoods that I would not recommend people to live in, and you know, I'm just saying. I mean, Kitano, I would not recommend living anywhere that Takeshi Kitano would live in. That's pretty much it. That's a good guideline. Or Tikyo Sam. Or all those cool people, they're very cool people, but they're cool people because they live in places that people like me would not want to live. Hey, I'm white bread. Seriously, white bread does not live in the ghetto. So it kind of does, come to think of it, actually. Rich people eat brown bread, right? But anyway, I lived in Kashiwa. I lived in Hachioji. Hachioji's nice as well. I would not recommend Hachioji, except it's just such a long way away, and there's heaps of Bosozoku out there. Anywhere on the Chuo line is lovely. Everywhere south and west of Tokyo is lovely. You have to be a little bit careful going north and east. East is okay. The central areas, though, are not so great. North, pretty much anywhere on the way up to Saitama, Ibaraki, yeah, you just want to be careful, pretty much. But there we go. DOK UNK is a shit area, so there we go. The sensor is going crazy tonight. Namibashi. I don't know where Namibashi is. Well, there we go. I have complete confidence that you know shittier places maybe than I do. Although I know some pretty shitty places, and I have lived in some bad places. But bad places in Tokyo, seriously. White bread lives in the ghetto. Amen. You said it. Yes. So yeah, I can make a list, but you know, I get a whole lot of haters afterwards, although I'm probably going to get it because I said it, right? So coming back, well, apparently London, New York, Tokyo, those are the top 3 cities in the world by someone in Tokyo who wanted to twist the list to make it work for us. And yeah, you know, in Tokyo, on the cultural interaction is getting better. I mean, there are heaps more foreigners than there ever used to be, and you know, who knows? He said Tokyo may, oh, so here we go, the person who did it said that the Tokyo may improve to 2nd place if progress is made ahead of the Olympics, i.e. if lots of foreigners come to the Olympics, we may beat New York. I still find that hard to believe. But elite run, where do the gaijin hunters hang out? Well, Roppongi, that's pretty much it. I mean, they hang around Shirokaredai because if you live there, it means that you're loaded. There's a funny thing. If you go to like Azabajuban, which is another like kind of gaijin hunter neighborhood, I have a theory on Azabajuban, which is that you see amazingly beautiful women there. The amazingly beautiful women in Azabajuban are not from Azabajuban. They are dating people who live in Azabajuban, and it's basically that they can pick. If you live in Azabajuban, you can pretty much pick, a supermodel to live with. If you see a not so pretty girl in Azabajuban, she's local. She's with money. So that's kind of how those things work. So yeah, you get they're rich hunters rather than gaijin hunters, but there's a lot of gaijins in that neighborhood. People who go for like just any gaijin, like an English teacher or something, like not being on a huge income. Roppongi, if they're into Chinese people, they'll be in, or Koreans. If they're into Chinese, they'll be in Ikebukuro. If they're into Nigerians, they'll be in Ueno or in Roppongi. If they are into Koreans, they'll be in Kabukicho or Eastern Shinjuku. So of course, there's different types of foreigners and different types of neighborhoods where foreigners are out there. But yeah, in the end of the day, Roppongi, I suppose, last I heard, is still the place to go if you pretty much can walk and breathe and have a foreign passport and you want to meet a lady or even a man. I mean, it's the place where people go to practice foreign language. But yeah, if you want to go for Mandarin conversations, Lysander 45, you want to go to Ikebukuro. That place is actually now like half the people there. It used to be all Saitama people, and somewhere along the line, it's like half Saitama and half China. It's really Chinese now. So there you go, and it is getting very multicultural, and that's where Tokyo might get number 2 on this list. What else we got here? And speaking of that, Japan has a record when I first got to Japan had 1 million foreign residents. Now it has 2.47 million foreign residents, and this is bearing in mind that the Zainichis, the Koreans and Chinese, have been naturalizing like crazy. They're getting like the 4th and 5th generation now, so their numbers have been going down. There used to be like 500,000 North Koreans in Japan. Now there's like 100,000. It isn't because they left, it's because they've become Japanese citizens. So this is an inflow mainly of Chinese, Filipinos, Brazilians and so on, Vietnamese recently as well. OECD, native English speaking Western people are still like a very, very small 30,000-40,000 in Tokyo. It's a very small population, but the overall population of foreigners has grown a lot, and I'd say it's actually more common than not now that most convenience stores or whatever, you will encounter non-Japanese staff there. It's becoming pretty normal. I talked a little bit before about how the opposition in Japan is kind of wiped out, so I'll skip that. I meant to take this out. I don't want to talk about this. I kind of put it in, I changed my mind. This is a really horrible incident on which happened on the main highway around Tokyo, the Tomei Kosakudoro. Basically, this kind of piece of crap, this kind of guy who apparently has been arrested before for like jumping into cars and trying to intimidate people into paying him compensation money to not go to the cops. So kind of not very nice people. Apparently, a car with family, they were at a highway stop, and this car was like blocking the way back onto the highway. And so the family car that was trying to get around them hit the horn at them and said, "Hey, can you get out?" They said, "Get out of the way." So these guys jumped in their car and they chased them onto the highway. They stopped them in the fast lane. They forced them to pull over, dragged them out of the car. When they got pulled out of the car got rear-ended. And the 2 parents died, the 2 children in the back, who gave the relay of how these guys basically chased them down on the highway. I hope they get done for murder, actually. Sorry, that's very dark. I don't like to talk about crime stories, but basically, and the guy admits that, he just lost his crap, and these people exist in Japan, and you don't want to mess with these sorts of people, basically. And you should be able to figure out who they are, but there we go. I finished watching The Americans. That was very, very good. And that's why you get a dash cam. You don't really need it in Japan. It's not a big problem, but again, in neighborhoods like Yanaka, for example, and bad neighborhoods in Osaka, when you talk about neighborhoods you don't want to live in, it's because people like them are there. They exist. And yeah, it's pretty messed up and horrible. A record in the first half of this year, 13.34 million foreigners entered Japan. So we're heading for like 26 million, which is just mind-blowing to me. We used to not even get like 2 or 3 million visitors a year in Japan. and it was really hard to get around as a foreigner. That was what part of the fun was how hard it was. But now, you know, the campaign to get people to come to Japan has just been so successful. It's just crazy. These are going to be released. The Google Mini Dot is going to be released in Japan next week on the 23rd. Come think of it, I won't be in Japan when it's released. I'm going to be overseas. Oh, that reminds me, next week. Jesus, next week already. Sunday night though, I'm flying out. So when this is released, I will not be in Japan. I'll be on an overseas trip. I will be able to do this show, I think, next week. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this. I've got my Alexa, which you know about, my Echo that I got in the US. So I want to compare it to the Google one and see how they match up. This is kind of super cool stuff. And yeah, J Horrorfield. It was particularly nasty, that story, and I guess that bothered me a lot. That's why I put it there. And you were right, but there you go. Yeah, that number of people visiting is just crazy. Google is preparing for automation. I still think automation is going to be a good thing, in the same way that automation of cars was better than having horses and carriages. Done the right way, you know, it's going to be a bumpy ride adapting to it, and it sounds like Google seems to be anticipating it's going to hit really fast. But at the end of the day, it's going to make all the things that we do faster and easier. It's going to enable us to do more stuff that we spend lots of our time doing now. We can have tools to just do for us instantly, and we're going to have all this extra time that we're going to have to figure out how to use more productively. But there we go. So yeah, Tetsuya 34 asks, are the talks about lowering the visa standards still going on in Japan? They're constantly being, the barriers to coming to Japan are constantly being lowered, bit by bit. But the ideas of it's getting easier and easier to get permanent residence. That's why the number of foreign residents is growing so fast. The number of countries with visa-free entry and accelerated entry is constantly updating. It's funny, they don't talk about it in the election because it's kind of been done by stealth by the Ministry of Justice that manages immigration. It's not politicized. Politicians don't discuss immigration in Japan, but they are opening the floodgates on it, and actually nobody's complaining. This is the good thing about Abe being in government, is that if Abe wasn't in government, if there were left-wingers in government, the right-wingers would be noticing this happening and they'd be making it a political issue. But the fact that they've got a raving right-wing maniac in government who is kind of allowing the ministry on its own without political guidance to just open up the floodgates to foreigners, which they want for the Olympics anyway. It's quiet, but believe me, the standards for getting into Japan are coming, you know, are going really great. Namidabashi. Namidabashi is in Minami Senju. Well, cool, man. I've dated people from Minami Senju who were actually pretty good. And I lived in Kashiwa, so I believe I know that area. The Joban line was my thing, although you can get to Minami Senju by the Hibiya line, I believe. But I used to live further out than that, so I know that area well. And I wouldn't recommend living there, but I had a great life living there. I had the life that I just described of going surfing and all that sort of stuff. I met those guys, you know, rough guys in some ways, but they were good. But there again, if you're going to say what are good neighborhoods and bad neighborhoods, I wouldn't say that they're good neighborhoods, but I had a good time there. I'm not throwing my support behind Abe, but I'm pointing out there are upsides to it, one of which is the liberalization of immigration in Japan. Not being politicized, which it was being politicized when the Democrats were in government. You know, they're not going to criticize Abe about it. And I kind of love the fact that Abe's, you know, on that subject, it seems to be pretty open about that. So yeah, JRE. I don't know the JRE, so apparently the JRE is awesome. So I need to go look it up. But I don't listen to it. Twitch is expanding. They're not just doing games anymore. They're doing vlogs. Apparently they've got a channel all about funny viral clips. So I don't know, I do like their live interface, but there we go. A bit of the old Dajare there from BOKUNK is very good, very good. The Joban line is more like the Jordan line. Yeah, I've got some Joban line stories, including, yeah, I remember somebody, like, there's a real big gap between, is it Minami Senju and Kita Senju, like where the train just goes for like 20 minutes and it doesn't stop. And I remember somebody, like, hearing about somebody getting thrown up on. I had a homeless drunk person once talking to me that whole time. I had someone who got thrown up upon right when the doors closed, so they were stuck there for 20 minutes. That wasn't nice, but there we go. Again, everyone can see anyway, but I don't know what you're talking about there. Where have I been? Oh, you're talking about JRE. Okay, well, I'm going to go Google it, obviously, but I have been working. I've been busy. This happens. He's not popular, but he's going to win. Oh, yeah, the giant robot fight. It's going to happen, actually, October 17, which, come think of it, is 2 days from now. Sudobashi, Sudobashi Heavy is going to fight the, who are they going to fight? The Americans. Who are the Americans? I only know they're Japanese. The Megabots, Eagle Prime. I mean, what a lame name, but apparently it is going to be shown on Twitch, I believe. Another reason to watch Twitch, I suppose. 7 PM PST, live on Twitch. The Japanese one is the one on the left. They've been talking about this thing. Again, I don't know if this is actually going to be... you can always imagine it sounds awesome that there are going to be these huge, heavy robots fighting. I don't know if it's actually going to be that good, but it's going to be interesting. Hell, I'm going to watch it. It does sound pretty good. So there we go. October 17, 7 PM, which means in Japan it's going to be October 18 in the morning, which I guess is going to be Wednesday morning. Looks like it's going to be good to watch. In fact, come think of it, it's not going to be in the morning. I think I can guess the time for this. If it's 7 PM, it's going to be about 11 AM on Wednesday morning Japan time. So I'm totally going to watch this, the Megabots versus Sudobashi. Should be big. I mean, I've seen these things. These are big machines. I hope they're not going to put people inside them, because these are big, heavy things. I mean, hell, they could... people could get killed if they're inside those things. But, you know, we'll see. It might be a bit anticlimactic. They're making robots to cook food because they're worried about not having enough people. They dance around for about an hour. It's possible, Nihoniko, I don't know. I mean, I just can't wait to see how it goes. This is kind of stupid. I read this today. Book publishers are now going after libraries, saying that they're suspecting that libraries are lending books out to people is affecting their sales, although they don't have any data to back it up. What can you do? Copyright owners, they're in a difficult thing. Amazon is recommending the Comic X-Force. I don't know what the Comic X-Force is, so I'm not informed. I'm going to close out tonight before I record a track that I actually prepared. Wow, this show actually went for an hour. I didn't think this would go for an hour. Ami Yamato made an awesome Stranger Things parody video. It's really, really well done with her and Winona Ryder. So that is awesome. Go and check that out. I watched that today, and it's really, really well done. And Yami Yamato is still awesome, and I think her animation shit has actually gotten like better, but this is really good, and I can't wait for the new season of Stranger Things on Netflix. It's going to be really good. And go download this track. It's Fat Malice by Tanakamura. It's really, really good, and it's Chaos Related time. It is indeed. So let me plug in and set up, and I've got a track all queued up so that I can record it tonight. So I'm actually all set to go with this. I got all my loops set up, and so hopefully, oh, you know what? There we go. Let me do this. I've got Yukuri Fuku as an name of the track, and let me queue up the Chaos iPad screen. Let me hope that it starts feeding. Oh, it does. There we go. Yukuri Fuku. I know it looks a bit rude, but this is what I do. I'm going to... you can respectfully disagree with my change to American English, but I've just had to do it to survive here. This is Japan, and they use American English here. Plus, I work at American companies. I'm going to record this, and hopefully it won't be shit, and I'm going to upload it later on SoundCloud, so you can enjoy this. It's going to be called Yukuri Fuku, and I've set it up, so here we go. Going to outro with a live track. Have a good one, everybody, and peace. I'm going to make sure the audio capture is turned on. It is turned on. Let's do this. Okay. I just realized something. I have to plug in the sound after I connect the HDMI so I can hear it. Okay. Now let's do this. Another false start. I'm going to start this one more time. One more time. Here we go. Live now. I fucked up some of the breaks. I didn't quite get the timing on some of the breakdowns on the beats when I tried messing with it, but it's a good track. Do I re-record it or do I upload it as is? Tell me now in the comments if you want me to upload that as is. If you want me to re-record it and try to get it one more time a little bit cleaner, I'll do that. But otherwise, I'm done for the show. I hope you enjoyed it. It's all good stuff. What do you reckon? Upload it as I played it or have another go at recording it later? I'll take the first few votes on that. Upload as is says Tetsiga 34, that's 1-4. I'll take 2 or 3 more votes on that. Upload as is says BLKUNK. Sergeant Booker says re-record, who I know is musical. I might re-record it. Oh, that goes a lot of weight. Leave the scars. Well, the scars are pretty bad. I can do it better. But that's the track. So that is coming. I'm going to call it Yukuri Fuguba. Hell, maybe I'll call it Joban Jodan. Just because that's such a terrible joke and it's more memorable. And Black Unicorn, I want you to download it, maybe use it in one of your movies. Who knows? Anyway, that's me for tonight. I'm going to think about what to do with this track. I'm probably going to re-record it. Hope you enjoyed it. Come and join me again anytime, live. Yeah, do it better. Lesson 45. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll re-record that. It'll be uploaded soon. And I'll see all you guys next week. I'll be back here next week. The week after, I might be away. I might be back in time. I'm not sure. I'm going to be going overseas for work. Better have a good week and see you later. Boom. Peace. Yeah, I'll do that. Maybe I'll upload this and I'll record a new version. Who knows? That might be the way to do it. Okay, I'll upload this as the rough cut. Upload to SoundCloud, and so you can check this out very soon. And peace.